Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Hare Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Hare Gopi Yaso Dana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Yasoda Dana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Down Dira Vana Chari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Go, Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, Text number 9. Ready? Yat tejasana pasuro aham Makartam.
Yatejasani Pashiro Nirmakartam
Arjunujasthavagaya Jayayuta Sattvavirya.
Ayonujastavaja Sattvavidya
Ena Hrita Brahmatanata Vakaya Bhupa.
Tena Hita Brahmatanattamakaya Bhupa
Yanmochitastadanayan Bhavim Anvarete.
Yanmochitastanayan Bhagamadvarete
Yatejasan Pasuron Guru Aham Makartam.
Yatejasani Pashirom Vishnumadvartam
Arjunujasthavagayajjuta Sattvavirya.
Ayonujastavaja Sattvavidya
Tena Rita Brahmatanatha Makaya Bhupa.
Tena Vita Brahmatanattamakaya Bhupa
Nunmochitastadanayan Bhavim Anvarete.
Yanmochitastanayan Bhagamadvarete
Yantejasana Pasuron Aham Mukhartam.
Yatejasani Bashirom Vishnumadvartam
Arjunujasthavagajayayuta Sattvavirya.
Ayonujastavaja Sattvavidya
Dena Radhava Matatatha Makaya Bhupa. Yanmochitastadanayan Bhavim Anvarete.
Tejasani Pashirom Vishnumadvartam
Yatejasani
Yatejasani Pashirom Vishnumadvartam Ayonujastavaja Sattvavidya Ayonujastavaja Sattvavidya Tena Vita Brahmatanattamakaya Bhupa
Tena Rita Brahmatanatha Bhupa.
Yanmochitastadanayan Paramatvarete
Yanmochitastadanayan Bhavim Yet
Yat
whose?
Who
Tejasa
Tejasa
by influence. Niprasir Angrim, one whose feet are adored by the heads of kings. Ahan, killed. Maka Artam, for the sacrifice. Arya, respectable. Anuja, younger brother. Tava, your. Gaja Ayuta, 10,000 elephants. Satravirya, powerful existence. Tena, by him. Avrata, collected. Pramata Anata, the Lord of the ghosts. Mahabharava. Makhaya, for sacrifice. Bhupa, kings. Tatmochita, by whom they were released. Anayan, all of them brought. Balim, taxes. Advare, presented. Te, your. Translation and purport by Zabanga Srila Prabhupada Giga. Your respectable younger brother, who possesses the strength of 10,000 elephants, killed by his grace, by Krishna's grace, Jarasandha, whose feet were worshipped by many kings. These kings had been brought for sacrifice in Jarasandha's Mahabhairava Yagya, but they were thus released. Later, they paid tribute to your majesty. Purport. Jarasandha was a very powerful king of Magadha, and the history of his birth and activities is also very interesting. His father, King Brihadratha, was also a very prosperous and powerful king of Magadha, but he had no son, although he married two daughters of the king of Kasi. Being disappointed in not getting a son from either of the two queens, the king, along with his wives, left home to live in the forest for austerities. But in the forest he was benedicted by one great Rishi to have a son, and he gave him one mango to be eaten by the queens. The queens did so and were very soon pregnant. The king was very happy to see the queens bearing children. But when the ripe time approached, the queens delivered one child in two parts. Inconceivable. One from each of the queens' wombs. The two parts were thrown in the forest where he just thought, what's the use of this? He just threw them in the forest. You know? The two parts were thrown in the forest where a great she-demon used to live, and she was glad to have some delicate flesh and blood from the newly born child. Out of curiosity, she joined the two parts, and the child became complete and regained life. The she-demon was known as Jara, and being compassionate on the childless king, she went to the king and presented him with a nice child. The king was very pleased with the she-demon and wanted to reward her according to her desire. The she-demon expressed her desire that the child be named after her, and thus the child was surnamed Jarasandha, or one who was joined by Jara, the she-demon. In fact, this Jarasandha was born as one of the parts and parcels of the demon Viprachiti. The saint by whose benedictions the queens bore the child was called Chandra Kaushika, who foretold of the child before his father Brihadratha. Since Jarasandha possessed demoniac qualities from birth, naturally he became a great devotee of Lord Shiva, the lord of all ghostly and demoniac men. Ravana was a great devotee of Shiva, and so was Jarasandha. He used to sacrifice all arrested kings before Lord Mahabhairava, Shiva, and by his military power he defeated many small kings and arrested them to butcher before Mahabhairava. There are many devotees of Lord Mahabhairava or Kala Bhairava in the province of Bihar, formerly called Magadha. Jarasandha was a relative of Kamsa, the maternal uncle of Krishna, and therefore after Kamsa's death, King Jarasandha became a great enemy of Krishna, and there were many fights between Jarasandha and Krishna. How many?
18.
Well, yeah, 18. 17 he won, and then the 18th Jarasandha said he fell in, he flew in fear. But we'll tell how that happened. Lord Krishna wanted to kill him, but he also wanted that those who served as military men for Jarasandha might not be killed. Therefore, a plan was adopted to kill him. Krishna, Bhima, and Arjuna together went to Jarasandha in the dress of poor brahmanas and begged charity from King Jarasandha. Jarasandha never refused charity to any brahmana, and he performed many sacrifices also, yet he was not on a par with devotional service. Lord Krishna, Bhima, and Arjuna asked Jarasandha for the facility of fighting him. That was the charity they desired. And it was settled that Jarasandha would fight with Bhima only, because he thought Arjuna is too weak. He's just a kid, you know. And Krishna, he flew in fear of me, so I can't fight him. He's scared of me. Even though he's defeated 17 times. Yeah. So all of them were both guests and combatants of Jarasandha, and Bhima and Jarasandha fought every day for several days. Bhima became disappointed But Krishna gave him hints about Jarasanda's being joined together as an infant, and thus Bhima directed him again and so killed him. All the kings who were detained in the concentration camp to be killed before Mahabhairava were thus released by Bhima. The feeling thus obliged to the Pandavas, they paid tribute to King Yudhisthira. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Giranjana Salakaya Chakshur Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Mukham Kutabhatalam Pangam Vaitegaran Yat Kripataraham Vande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Vanchakapatubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this King Jarasandha was a very powerful king. He actually conquered 20,800 kings. I mean, that's like a city in itself. It's like, so he was very powerful. And he was very demoniac. He would do human sacrifices. Jeez, it's terrible. So Yudhisthira wanted to perform this Rajasuya sacrifice, and to do the Rajasuya sacrifice, all the kings had to agree. So they knew Jarasandha, he's not going to agree. And it was known that he was very powerful. So that was the plan, that Krishna go there with Bhima and Arjuna and challenge him. And yeah, they were both of them were very powerful. Bhima and Jarasandha, very powerful. I mean, I don't know how it is that he became so powerful. Like, he was as powerful as 10,000 elephants. And imagine fighting. They fought for 27 days. 27 days. And Bhima, I mean, he's a Rikadar, which means he's a voracious eater, and he performed Herculean tasks. He was like Hercules. He was like so powerful. Yeah. 27 days, couldn't defeat him. So then he told Krishna, I can't defeat him. And then Krishna gave him a hint. Separate him. So he put one foot on his foot, and he took the other foot and separated him. Half. He was again separated. So Bhima, he is very powerful. There's one pastime where there was a Brahmana, son of a Brahmana, Ashwatthama, who towards the end of the war killed the 5 sleeping sons of the Pandavas. Such a rascal, you imagine. So he thought, for some reason, he had killed the Pandavas, and he brought the heads to Duryodhana, who was not yet dead. He was laying down, dying. So he said, I have good news for you. I've killed the Pandavas. I have their heads. And he felt their heads. He said, these aren't the Pandavas. These are the sons. Because he knew that if they were the actual Pandavas, he would feel their head, they'd be. But they were boys. So news got out that he had killed the 5 sleeping sons of the Pandavas. So you can imagine how Draupadi felt. Her only sons killed like that. And Arjuna said, I'll capture this rascal, and you can bathe on his head. Yeah. So they went after him, and they caught him. And now it's interesting. Now these are all pure devotees, but they had different opinions. Now Arjuna, his opinion was to kill him. He went out. He wanted to kill him. So they caught him and brought him back to Draupadi, and Draupadi said, "Let him go. He's the son of a Brahmana." If the Kshatriyas enrage the Brahmanas, then that is the beginning of the royal family being destroyed. So everybody agreed. Sahadev, Nakula, Yudhisthira, Krishna, but not Bhima. Bhima said, "Kill him. Let's kill him. These rascals." Yeah. But a Brahmana is never to be killed. Old man, children, women. But what's interesting is Krishna, the first demon Krishna killed when he came was a woman, Putana. Same thing with Ramachandra. First demon killed was a woman. Interesting. So these are not to be killed. So what to do? So Krishna said to Arjuna, Arjuna, you have to satisfy Bhima and Draupadi. So he understood from that. So he gave him maybe the first punk rock haircut. Took out his knife and just gave an unusual haircut and cut off his jewel from his head. There was a jewel on his head somehow. So this was practically like death. Although he wasn't a Kshatriya, he was a Brahmana, but like his father was, he was like a Kshatriya, Dronacharya, geez, so powerful. So they let him go. But he wasn't finished yet. He wanted to destroy the Kuru dynasty. So he sent the Brahmastra weapon to kill Parikshit Maharaj. And that would be the end. Because he was the only heir of the dynasty. So Draupadi, Uttara, who is the mother of Parikshit, she could see that this demon has thrown this weapon to kill my child. And she prayed to Krishna, Krishna, I don't mind if I die, but save my child. A little different than nowadays, right? It's terrible. In India, 7 million abortions a year in India, the land of Dharma. It's absolutely insane. Can you believe it? Imagine the whole world. I mean, in America, we only have about 2 million. And he has 7 million. We get about 2 million a year. Definitely Kali Yuga. Terrible. And the whole world, I don't know, maybe 30 million every year. Yeah, you could probably look it up. This is horrible. But what does she say? I don't mind dying. Please save my child. So then Krishna, he protected. I think he protected Parikshit. So the Kuru dynasty was able to continue. Parikshit Maharaj, such a great devotee and great Kshatriya. So there's different opinions. Pure devotees. And even Prabhupada sometimes, there's some, there'll be in a purport where, according to Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, but Sridhar Swami, he has another opinion. And these are pure devotees. And sometimes in our ISKCON society also there's some different opinions. Uh, just like we have this, I've been having a discussion with some devotees about this, uh, a devotee, that whatever happens to a devotee, it's all good. Because there's that verse, Labante Brahma Nirvana Masik Simakam China Dvaita Sarabhute Utarada. The devotee he's beyond duality. So it's all good. But one devotee said, well, was it all good that Draupadi was grabbed and attempted to be disrobed? Was that good? Or Vidura, he was kicked out of the palace. Well, let's look at this pastime. First of all, she wasn't disrobed; she was absorbed in Krishna. Yeah. She tried to get help from Bhishma. She said so because what happened was amazing. What happened, Yudhisthira, he became uh, infatuated with this gambling. Of course, he's a kshatriya. You can't say no. You can't, just like a fight. If someone, wants to fight, you can't turn down a fight. Haribohu. Welcome. Swagatam. You brought some prasad. Okay.
Abortion rate,
Huh?
the abortion rate globally, World Health Organization's estimated 73 million.
73 million.
Translates to 200K per day.
200.
K per day, 200,000 per day.
20,000 a day. In other words, during this lecture,
It's actually 15 million.
it's 15. Oh my God, it's gone up. Kali Yuga's increased. Oh my God, it's terrible. 78 million a year. But you know what's nice is now in America, there's only 2 states where it's, I think it's only 2 states where it's allowed abortion. Nevada and California. Unfortunately, California is one of them. So she said, let me die, but let my child live. Yeah. So now, where were we? We were, anybody remember where I was when we...
Saying Prabhu, how can everything that happens to devotees good?
Oh, yes. They had different opinions. So we also sometimes have different opinions. So Krishna says that one who is free of dualities that arise from doubt, whose mind is always engaged within, who is always busy acting for the welfare of others, and who is free of sin, such a person is understood to be liberated. So one who is free of the dualities that arise from doubt. In other words, if we have faith that whatever happens is good, then there's no anxiety there. Krishna's he's our ever well-wisher, has our best interest at heart. So whatever he arranges, it's good for us. And there's very interesting conversation. Some of you may have heard this. Prabhupada was on a plane, and it was up in the air, and it's going by autopilot. And the captain came back to where the passengers were, and he saw Prabhupada, and he said, "Can I ask you a question?" And Prabhupada told the devotee who was sitting next to him, "You sit somewhere else," and had the captain sit down. And he said, "Is everything created by God?" And yes, everything is created by God. Then what is evil? Good question. Then what is evil? And Prabhupada said, evil is also uh, created by God, but this is the back of God. This is the back of God. Now, one may say, well, then they're equal. No, they're not equal. But yeah, the evil is on the back, and the good is in the front, and we treat them equally. It's like if you hurt your front, if someone hurts your back, that's bad too. But for God, there is no evil. For God, there is no evil. Just like the sun, Prabhupada, he's a genius. Just like for the sun, there is no darkness. There's only light. So for God also, there's only good. But ourselves, we can be in the light or we can be in the darkness. We could turn away from the sun and we'll be in darkness. We'll be in the shade. So if we're always God conscious, then we're always in the front of God. If we forget God, then we're in the back of God. So for a pure devotee, there is no bad. It's always good because they're always God conscious. Now look at the situation with Draupadi. Draupadi, yeah, she was attempted to be disrobed, but it didn't happen. Why? Because she was so God conscious. What did she do? Hey Govinda. And she's famous. She's famous for taking shelter of Krishna in such an awkward situation. She was completely God conscious. She went to Bhishma, she went to Dronacharya, she went to Kripacharya, and they couldn't say what was right, because Yudhisthira he had gambled himself away, and then he gambled Draupadi away. How can he do that? So they didn't know. It was a touchy one. So then she just took shelter of Krishna. And the first time ever, Krishna incarnated as a sari. So imagine the ecstasy she must have been. Here, this Dushasan, he's pulling the sari, and he's pulling, and he's pulling, and it just keeps. Now she knows how long the sari is, 3 meters or something, maybe 4 meters. But he's just pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling, and she's like, "What happened to my sari? What's happening here?" And he's also thinking, and everybody's saying, "What's going on here?" Amazing, huh? So this shows how she was completely Krishna conscious. So Krishna conscious that Krishna incarnated as a sari and protected her chastity. So this shows that ultimately it turned out to be good. Although it was, for Dushashan, it was horrible. And for everybody that watched that and didn't protest, it was horrible. And therefore, when Karna was Arjuna was going to shoot him down, he said, "How could you do this? I don't have my weapons. How could you shoot me down?" And Krishna said, "Oh, you were there when Draupadi was being disrobed. You think that was proper? To sit there and not stop that? That was completely wrong." So, so many of them just allowed that disgrace. They were going to allow that to happen. Horrible. And Bhima's sitting there, he's just looking at his hands like, oh my. And he took vows that he was going to, heavy duty vows. He's gonna drink the blood from the heart of Dushashan for doing that. And he was gonna kill all the sons of Dhritarashtra. And he was gonna tear the thigh, or was it Duryodhana that he showed his thigh? That's what I'm gonna break. I'm gonna break you right there. And that's what he did. Amazing. Bhima was just like, oh man, don't mess with Bhima. So another uh, interesting pastime with Bhima is this is with Duryodhana. You know, the battle of Kurukshetra was to happen inevitably. So Gandhari, Gandhari is another amazing personality. And what's just on the side here, you know, she had a brother, uh, Sukini, Sukini. Right? So he was so upset that the Kurus had taken his sister, and she became the wife of Dhritarashtra, who was blind. And because I mean I mean it's just amazing the the culture of India that the husband is always senior, so she wouldn't if her husband is blind, she's going to put blindfold on. You know, I can't be senior to my husband. It's amazing. Huh? And you know what's interesting is even if that's in our culture. This Radhanath Swami, you know, when him and his parents were going to go to India, and they needed to get a passport. So she found out that her husband was younger than her, and she told her husband, "If I would have known that, I wouldn't have married you." Interesting, huh? And that's you know nowadays you know who cares you know. I think even here in Los Angeles there was a devotee who married a lady, and she was 10 years older than him. But here we have this elderly lady or their husband, and she said, "Oh, I wouldn't have married you. You can't be, you know, younger than me." Interesting. So Gandhari, and because she did that, she became very powerful because she's so chaste. But also because she did that, Sukini, is that her name? Shakuni. Shakuni. He was so upset because Gandhari, she was beautiful. And his little sister, he took a vow. You know those dice that he used? You know what those dice were made of? Those are the bones of his parents. And he took a vow that with these dice, I'm going to destroy the Kuru dynasty. And he did. See, the Kurus thought that Sakuni was their friend, but actually he was there to destroy the Kuru dynasty because they did that to his sister. Interesting, huh? And he did it. He was he was good with dice. So, interesting, huh? That was just a little side thing there. So, Gandhari, she told Duryodhana, Duryodhana, you come to me in the morning naked. And he said, okay. Now he's walking over to see his mother, and Krishna happens to be there and sees him. Says, Duryodhana, why are you walking around like this? What are you doing? Said, oh, my mother has told me to come and she wants to see me naked. You can't go before your mother like that naked. Come on, at least, you know, cover the middle part, you know. So, all right, that makes sense. All right. Got a little gumption there and he covered himself. And then he went there and said, Mata, I'm here. And she said, okay. And she took her blindfold off and saw that you're not naked. Why? I told you come naked. I saw Krishna. Krishna said, I can't come before you naked. And she smiled and said, oh, such is fate, Krishna. You don't want to be on the wrong side. So he was like iron. He was like solid iron wherever she looked. wherever her vision touched, he was like solid iron. So, and then the fight between Bhima and Duryodhana took place, and they're fighting and fighting. How many know? How many days? Anybody know? I forgot too. For many days. But you know what's also interesting is after they would fight, you know, they would fight from the sun would rise and they would fight. The sun would go down, they would stop. You know, Jarasandha, they would go to Jarasandha's palace and they would, you know, they would talk and, you know, friends and joke and, you know, talk about the fight of the day. Yeah, you got to put a good one in there. Now then, in that circumstance, the palace was right there. But with Duryodhana and Bhima, they were on a battlefield. So I don't know. There was no place. Maybe they would just, you know, hang around a campfire or something and talk about it. I don't know. But that's another amazing part of the Kshatriya culture. Yeah. Nowadays, it's so crazy. They're bombing schools, you know, in the middle of the night in Israel, right? And hospitals, you know, these killing innocent people. It's like absolutely insane. These battles, these Kshatriya warriors, they would go out. No innocent people would be harmed. You know, but here, you know, and the king, he would be in the front. When there's a battle here, the king goes to Camp David. You know Camp David? Camp David is where it's like a resort for the president. Yeah, it's I forgot which state it's in. It's a beautiful in a forest, a big palace. You know, just you know, he just sits back and watches it on TV. You know, he watches the war on TV. Camp David. Yeah, you can look it up. I forgot what state it's in. Huh? Maryland. Yeah, so that's the president's resort. Yeah. Camp David. Huh? 25 acres.
125.
125 acres. You can just go and, you know, have a nice walk every morning, you know. And meanwhile, you know, thousands of soldiers are being killed, you know. It's like, it's crazy. But the kings would be right up there in front. And when the king died, the war was over. That means that the other side won. Interesting, huh? So those are a few pastimes. But, oh yeah, and so Bhima is fighting with Duryodhana, and again, Krishna, I can't beat him. And then Krishna, what did he do? Kind of give a he motioned to him under the belt, but you're not supposed to do that. You know? But again, you know, these were kshatriyas, and they allowed something which is unheard of for a chaste lady to be disrobed in front of so many men. And Duryodhana, he was the one that actually, you know, instigated. He was like, yeah, we have that picture. Yeah, go get her, go get her. Told Dushashan, go get her. She's our property. So demoniac, so demoniac. So, oh, you want to act like that? All right, under the belt, Bhima under the belt, below the belt. So he killed him in that way. Amazing, huh? Mahabharata. Amazing. So, thank you very much. Any questions, comments, correction?
I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
You said that Ashwatthama killed the five sleeping sons. Was this after Duryodhana was dying?
Yeah, Duryodhana was laying down. He was on his deathbed. Yeah. And he felt terrible. he felt terrible because they're Kurus. Those boys were Kurus. And he chastised Ashwatthama for that. Now he wasn't killed, but he was, as I mentioned, he was, they cut his hair funny and took his, and it's mentioned that he had to go to the Himalayas, and he doesn't die. But to this day, he's still alive, suffering. Yeah, can't die, just suffering because of such an atrocious. That's my understanding, that he's still alive, and he's just suffering terribly for such a 5 sleeping boys. Terrible. Yeah.
Was this after the Maharaj Parikshit was saved by Krishna?
Yeah. Well, actually, because Parikshit Maharaj, he took birth after that. So this was before Parikshit.
But he was saved. The Brahmastra that incident happened before the 5 sleeping sons were killed.
That happened after the 5.
Why did the war keep continuing after Duryodhana was on a deathbed?
Well, one thing, he wasn't dead.
Oh, so it'll keep going.
And he also wasn't the king. Actually, Dhritarashtra, he kind of took the kingdom, but he wasn't. He took it as, I guess, as a responsibility, but he wasn't the king, actually, because he was blind, and you can't have a blind king. And some people might say, "Oh, what's wrong with a blind king?" Because now presidents and prime ministers, they don't fight anyway. But back then, if you're a king, you got to be able to see, because if there's a war, you're up front. You're gonna have a hard time. You can't see anything. So no question of a king being blind. So he wasn't really the king, but he took that. He wasn't authorized. But the authorized person to be the king was who? Yudhishthira, because he was the eldest of the of Pandu and Yudhishthira. He was the eldest cousin.
So did the battle happen after Duryodhana died?
I guess you could say it officially. Of course, there was just there was nobody left practically. Just the 5 Pandavas, and practically wasn't a scratch on them. And it's described they went back to God in their self-same bodies. Pandavas. Interesting. Yes, on this.
Question answer between Srila Prabhupada and the captain.
Isn't that interesting? That was so interesting. Yeah. So Prabhupada mentions it. I don't know if Prabhupada said, just as for Krishna, there is no darkness, there's no ignorance, there's no evil. Similarly, a devotee, because he's fully Krishna conscious, there is no bad. It's just whatever happens is good, because he's under the protection of Krishna. And Krishna and the devotee knows that whatever happens is good for my growth, for my spiritual life. And therefore Queen Kunti, she prayed for bad things to happen to her, because she's just going to take shelter of Krishna. That gives the impetus to take shelter of Krishna. And that's exactly what happened to Draupadi. This horrible, horrific thing happened to her. And what does she do? Govinda. So this is for someone who's Krishna conscious, they're just going to take shelter of Krishna. So it's good. And same thing with Vidura. He was kicked out of the palace, but what did he do? He went on pilgrimage. He just went to all the holy places. So it was good. And he got out of that horrible palace of just all these envious snakes, I mean, horrible. Imagine, I mean, he's a pure devotee living in a palace where people are thinking of how to kill the Pandavas. And Krishna. And Krishna. Duryodhana, he invited Krishna, what's interesting also is Shakuni, he told Duryodhana, you try to get Krishna on your side. Try to get Krishna. And that's why he made the big feast. He invited Krishna to a big feast, try to get him on his side. Krishna wouldn't even take a bite because it's just evil intention. But somehow he did become friends with Balaram. Just amazing. Completely amazing. Yeah, and he actually he didn't want to take part in the battle, also because he had friends on both sides, and he was also he was upset because Bhima did something. He did that illegal thing. Was he? He did something. I forgot. What was it? Balaram. He was upset with Bhima about one of those. I forgot.
Because he killed the way he killed
Duryodhana. Yeah, I think it was because of the way he killed Duryodhana. Below the belt. I think he saw that. He was upset.
He was there, but he left when he saw that.
Yeah.
And Krishna didn't say anything.
Yeah. Yeah. He was upset.
Duryodhana was his disciple.
Yeah. Because he was good with the club. Yeah, it's described that when Bhima had his club and Jarasandha they both had clubs, but they were both so powerful that their clubs turned into splinters. Their clubs were destroyed. They were just fighting with their fists. And it's described when their fists would come together, it would just say it was like iron coming together. You could hear it from, good distance away. Just imagine these are real kshatriyas. I mean, to see them. I mean, now they have these they have wrestling things, and it's all just plain. It's just show. It's just like complete show. But then they have this ultimate fighting, which is real fighting. But imagine the real kshatriyas, coming together like wow. Amazing. Yeah.
Prabhupada says that for God there is no evil. So we are saying that Krishna did not accept Duryodhana's feast because he had an evil intention. So why didn't Krishna accept Duryodhana's feast?
Because Krishna is attracted to the intention, the pure intention. And he didn't have a pure intention. His intention was to get Krishna on his side so that he can defeat the Pandavas. So that was his intention, impure intention. But the Pandavas, he loves the Pandavas. What's interesting also is whenever Krishna would go to the Pandavas, occasionally he would visit, and Krishna would touch the feet of Bhima. He's an older cousin, and Yudhisthira, and Arjuna, he would embrace, and Nakul and Sahadev, they would come and they would touch the feet because they were younger. And it's described in Nectar Devotion that Bhima, upon seeing Krishna, he was in so much love, his tears in his eyes, he went and he embraced Krishna. And then Krishna touched his feet. But there was so much love between the Pandavas and Krishna. Krishna promised Queen Kunti that none of your sons will be harmed. And practically everybody died. And after the battle, she said, the stars may fall from the sky, but Krishna's promise will be held. She was imagine how appreciative she was. She lost her grandsons, but not the Pandavas. Imagine, she must have been very appreciative. So much love. Everybody loved the Pandavas except for the Kurus. And that's interesting, is that Sakuni, he vowed to destroy the Kurus. And he's caused the fratricidal war between the Pandavas, because they're also Kurus. Pandavas are Kurus. But he separated them from the rest of the Kurus, the Pandavas against the Kurus. That was his desire, but he couldn't. So he couldn't kill all of them. And Parikshit ended up to be the only one, the only Kuru to survive by Krishna's mercy. And what a powerful. We need more Parikshit Maharajas. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes.
Wow. We need Bhima. We need all the Pandavas back. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Vijaya Prabhu ki
Bless you, Lord.
Yeah.